Kathy Beckman, aka Inspiration Gal, here again with Kenneth Johnson. We're talking about the Maya, and I have my notes here this time because I want to quote you from your book.
Okay.
And I don't want to get it wrong. So this is from page 86.
Okay.
And it says, each cycle develops until its very gifts become difficulties. And I'm going to read that again. Each cycle develops until its very gifts become difficulties. And when I read that, I actually stopped. And I actually got a little emotional when I was reading it because what many people may know is that I spent 2 weeks in Peru. I got to go down on a very amazing trip that was led by Greg Braden. And before I went down, it was really at the very early part of my awakening, so to speak, the understanding of all the different things that are out there. And when I went down to Peru and I spent 2 weeks with the Inca at these sacred sites, including Machu Picchu and Ollantaytambo, I was so completely opened up, not only energetically and emotionally, but also mentally. And I've had a difficult time in my life ever since then. And this happened in 2008. And you know, they say that ignorance is bliss. And I was kind of living this blissful time before that. And as I've woken up and I find just how powerful we are.
Okay.
The possibility, or what I feel is the reality, that our ancient cultures knew so much more than we do today, and they lived so much more with the land, and that we've forgotten so much. That when I read this again, each cycle develops until its very gifts become difficulties. So the very gift that I had of waking up to the power, the immense power and information that the Maya, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Egyptian had, has become my personal difficulty. And you know, now that I know this,
yeah, I
have a responsibility, and what do I do with it? So I was wondering if you got the same kind of feel for that?
Well, on a less personal level, when I said that the meaning of each cycle the gifts of each cycle develop until they become difficulties, I was thinking, I believe this quote is when I was talking about the larger cycles, the big ones, you know, what we call a world age, you know, 5,125 years. You know, you can trace this back very easily. For example, the current cycle of 13 Baktuns, or peaks as we now know they were called by the Maya, began in 3,114 BC. What do we get then? We get urbanization. You know, people move out of agricultural villages and into cities. All of a sudden we have alphabets, which means that people can, you know, have a secret language that others don't understand. All of a sudden we have metallurgy, which means, you know, better tools. Now, what have we seen over the past 5,000 years? We've seen that cities, which seemed like such a good idea for protection, nurturance, a warm and safe place to raise children, have now become sources of pollution, of crime, of overcrowding, of you know, offense to the earth. That which was a gift became a difficulty. The same with the metallurgical weapons. Ah, yes, you know, finally we got around to fashioning, you know, drone missiles and battleships. And, you know, what had once been a gift, you know, oh my gosh, this is a real much better cutting tool than a stone axe, you know. This metal scythe, you know, I can do a lot more with it. It's versatile. You know, what was once a gift has now become a difficulty.
And technology of today. Look at the video camera that we're using.
The video camera.
That is now in every corner of almost every street, watching with Big Brother.
Right, and every time, you know, you can trace these periods, these so-called great cycles of 5,125 years. They all seem to have to do with great leaps of technology. At the beginning of the last one, metallurgy and urbanization came in. But what if we took it back 5,125 years farther? We would find that this is the beginning of agriculture. So, beginning of a 13 Baktun cycle, the world changes. Good for most people, but those who were once mighty hunters have now become dim-witted cavemen. And then, now we have another 5,000-year cycle characterized by villages and agriculture. And then now, boom, everything changes at the start of our present cycle. All of a sudden, people are living in cities. People have, spears and swords. And those who were once the skilled farmers that sustained the world are now just, ignorant peasants to be pushed around. And we can obviously see that cybernetic technology is the world-changing technology for the coming age after... what else has ever taken over the entire world in less than 40 years? And for most people it will be good, but for other people it will create a haves and a have-nots situation.
Creating.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because you've one of the things that you've highlighted throughout all of your books that I've read is that the Maya don't really look at, we look at, it's midnight, it's the start of a new day.
Yeah.
They see it as energy shifting, and there isn't one energy that goes away for the next energy of, say, the Zolkeen each day.
Right.
It's a shifting where they actually kind of walk together. The same thing with like the year, as you say, they walk together for a while, and it's a shifting of the energy, which we have the same type of shifting with this great cycle that's ending December 20. I almost hate to say ending, shifting on December 21st.
Well,
and you see that there's a major change that's happening. It's not an overnight kind of thing. I don't think that December 22nd we're going to see a brand new world, but when you look at the last few years and what's leading up.
I think all of this is process. In our society, with our expectations, with Christian expectations of apocalypse, we're looking for an event, a big fiery blast of a magnificent and strange and world-changing event. I'm not sure, even if you trace back all these 5,000-year cycles, I'm not sure we ever see that. What we do see is that this seems to form like the midpoint, the central axis, the nodal point of a dramatic change in the way people live.
And I can't remember offhand what apocalypse really means. I'll put it in the video. But
time no longer.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Because even in the Bible, apocalypse didn't mean catastrophe and end of the world. It meant we've changed what the meaning of it was.
Yeah. In Greece, if you want to say hello, you say Kali Mira. Kali has to do with time. That's so apo Kali. Apo is literally is where our word after is derived from. Kali is time. Apocalypse means when there is time no longer.
So after time.
But the Maya, more like Hindus, they would see like here's this big vast cycle, and inside of it might be all these cycles, and then some of them cross over with the next one, which crosses over with a yet bigger one, and it's just an infinitude of cycles, of which this current transition point, as you put it, is just one step.
Exactly, and I think that people are starting to see that the Maya, as well as the Vedas, they had huge cycles, and the yugas, the Kali yugas, they talk in trillions of years.
Yes.
And one of the things that I've heard many times that the Maya were the first to come up with the concept of zero, but in your book, what I didn't know about was that in the Indus Valley, they came up with the concept of zero almost at the same time.
A little after the Indus civilization, but in classical India, yes, it's really somewhere between difficult and impossible to tell which came first, India or the Maya. What we have is two different civilizations, almost half the planet apart,
right.
who at the same time, they come up with the concept of zero.
Coincidence, I'm sure. Just coincidence.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
I was just going to say, and until next time,
okay,
we'll be talking more about the Maya.